Entitled parent gets frustrated no one is paying attention to her kid's Nintendo Switch. An entitled mom and a Nintendo Switch? Man, they're just pegging all the cliches, aren't they? K, kid. EM, entitled mum. So I was on a train going to London for a holiday, and I was in a very crammed carriage. EM and K get on and sit across from me. K pulls out a Nintendo Switch and starts playing. Nothing out of the ordinary, as it was a very long trip, and many people had laptops and the sort. The issues start when K starts slowly turning up the game. Pokemon, so the noises were squeaky and annoying. He keeps turning it up slightly. EM is looking at people with a sort of angry look. She looks at me, and I look at her, confused, and she nods in the direction of K. I just nod and continue looking out the window. EM starts fake coughing and clearing her throat. Whenever someone looked at her, she nodded towards the kid. So I'm sat here really confused about the EM's intentions when the kid turns up the Switch to full and starts blaring Pokemon. Everyone turns around to look at him, and EM looks happy. Then the ticket dude comes over and politely asks K to turn it down. K agrees and turns it down and continues playing. EM looks furious, but doesn't say anything. 5 peaceful minutes pass until K leans over and asks if I want to play Mario Kart with him. I politely decline, and K doesn't make a fuss. However, EM glares at me and says, EM, excuse me? Me, pardon? EM, why won't you play with my son? Me, I'm sorry, I just didn't want to, and I'm getting off soon. EM, well you should. My son has done well in school, and I bought him that Nintendo as a reward. He should get the attention he deserves. I just laugh and continue staring out the window. EM gets up, yanks one of the controllers from K, and practically throws it at me. Me, excuse me, what the hell are you doing? EM, that Nintendo was very expensive, and you should acknowledge that, and play with him as he deserves it. I hand the controller back to Kid. Me, I don't care. I don't want to play with your son. Leave me alone. EM starts fake laughing really loud. EM, you're just jealous and poor. Who else will play with my son? She looks around the train at random people who all just avoid eye contact. You are all poor and can't afford it. That's it. None of you care about your children enough. She looks triumphant and sits back down. She starts saying stuff like, ooh, what game is this? Looks very fun and cool. And describes features of the Switch very loud and keeps mentioning how expensive it is and how only parents like her can afford it. Then this absolute legend of a guy sat across from EK and reaches into his bag and pulls out a Switch, which was a weird special edition one. Guy, wow, your son's Switch is very cool, but mine is more expensive and better. He was obviously joking, but EM didn't get it. Seems as if you can't afford mine, and you aren't a good parent. EM looks gobsmacked, but K looks really excited and asks EM if he can play with Guy. EM, no, you can't. We're getting off now. EM and K move to the next carriage. Guy looks very happy with himself, and he just puts the Switch away. Thankfully, the rest of the journey was fine. Although this seems kind of fake hitting all the hot buttons, I'm gonna respond to all these stories as if they're real. I feel bad for this little kid. He's done absolutely nothing, but because he's got a crappy mom, he's in the direct line of fire from both sides. I just hope he doesn't grow up to be like her and becomes an actual good person. You're too pretty to be lesbians. Thank you, but we still aren't interested in entertaining your nephew for his birthday. This happened the other morning. My wife and I commute to work together on the train every morning. Our stops are only 2 apart, so we use the time on the train as more quality time. But this story isn't about what happens on the train. This story is about what happened at the station. Cast: me, EU entitled uncle, ET entitled teen, PO police officer. My wife and I were standing on the train platform, talking and waiting for our train to get here. It was pretty early in the morning, so the train platform was almost empty. We were vaguely aware of a teenager boy, about 17, a bit further down the platform. so we weren't acting like a couple, for safety reasons. After a few minutes, a man, easily in his 50s, joins the teen, and they begin to have a rather loud conversation about the teen's upcoming birthday. Their conversation started out as simple excitement about the party, who's invited, etc. But then it turns to the topic of the entertainment. The man starts asking the teen what he wants in a entertainer. He asks very specific questions that pertain to size. The man then points at my wife and I. EU. So you want her to be sort of like them? I felt my wife tense up next to me. ET. Exactly like them. After a few more moments of talking, in hushed tones now, the man starts walking over towards my wife and I. I grab my wife's hand and squeeze it to let her know I would handle the situation. I've never been one to back down too easily. EU. Excuse me, ladies. I'm sorry to bother you, but I was wondering if you'd be interested in coming to a party we're throwing this weekend. My nephew here is turning 18. Me. No, we're not interested in going to your party, and we aren't interested in entertaining him either. They stutter out excuses. Oh, no, you misunderstood. It'll be fun. No pressure. Me. No, we aren't interested. EU. Well, your husbands don't have to know. Hell, they can come too. The more the merrier, right? Me. My wife. I held up our hands to show them our rings, and I are not interested. Leave us alone. ET. Lesbians are always more fun. EU. Oh, come on, ladies. You're too pretty to be lesbians. Just come to the party. I'll make sure you're generously compensated for your time. Don't you think he deserves a good time on his birthday? Luckily, the train showed up just as EU placed his hand on my shoulder. My wife wasted no time and dragged me on the train before EU and ET even knew what hit them. But they were too quick for us. The two of them got onto the car in front of ours, meaning that in order to get off the platform at the next stop, we would have to walk right past them. As soon as we sat down, I called the cops and asked them to send someone to meet us at the next station. I filled them in on what had happened, and I was told an officer was on his way to the station. My wife and I sat there, somewhat calmer, and just kept reassuring each other that everything was going to be fine. While the men didn't outright seem violent or angry, neither one of us wanted to chance anything. As the train came to a stop, we saw the police officer standing there. We got up and walked straight for him, followed quickly by EU and ET. PO. What seems to be the issue here? I filled him in on EU and ET's request and explained that we didn't feel safe. Then EU said probably the stupidest sentences I think I've ever heard. EU. Officer, let me explain. My nephew here is turning 18 this weekend. He is a good kid, he studies, he works, and he gets things done. I think he deserves a good time. So I intended on paying for an entertainer. My nephew expressed interest in these young ladies, and I offered to compensate them in exchange for their services. Since my nephew will be 18, no crime will be committed. The cop just stared at him like he was insane, before explaining that prostitution is illegal, and that my wife and I had said no to his proposal, so anything after that could be considered harassment. EU. Well, I'm sure these lovely young ladies didn't want us to get into any trouble. Isn't that right, girls? I just smiled. Me. I would like to press charges, please. The cop called for backup. Then the men were cuffed and taken away. They were both charged with sexual harassment. I don't know if we'll go to court over it, or if we'll just settle it out, but I'll update either way. Happy birthday, kid. Hope you enjoy your brand new police record. I could be 100% wrong, and I really do hope I am, but it sounds like these guys probably had some malicious intentions. Why else would they follow them off the train after they already said no? They're not going to turn around and say, oh yeah, we changed our minds, let's do it. They probably had something a lot darker on the mind, so thank God that these guys got arrested, and hopefully they get the worst sentence that they could get. Alrighty guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did and you're new around here, consider subscribing. And if you really liked it, maybe give it a thumbs up and a share. Also, for all you out there interested in the gaming channel, I finally got the channel up, running, and made. Now, in the next day or two, I should have the first episode coming out. Sorry, it's taking me a minute, but it's finally hitting the ground running. Also, got some really cool stuff coming to that channel here in the next week, so look forward to that at Foobier Gaming. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.